Even though Photoshop CS4 has a brand new adjustments panel, you still have the option of applying adjustments from your layers panel as well. And as I always call this, the little yin and yang of vanilla and chocolate cookie symbol on the bottom is your one-stop button to access them. An adjustment is simply a non-destructive way to play around with parameters inside of your image. I'm going to go ahead and hide this text and click on this layer. So let's say I want to play around with the colors in this image. I can go to this symbol and I can go to hue and saturation. And now what I can do is use the sliders to adjust my image. And I can increase the lightness or the darkness, and I can play around with different parameters. I'm just going to go ahead and just at random just put anything here for now. Click colorize, and I'll just change the entire scope of this and make it a little cooler. Now if I go back to the layers panel, we see that we have this mask and this layer on top of our image. This is the adjustment layer. So we can always turn it off by clicking on the eyeball. And that's really the beauty of using this, because if you use something else, such as, let me go ahead and select this again. We go to image, adjustment, and I'll go ahead and grab variations. I'll go ahead and hit a couple of different things at random. Click OK. Look at the difference. If I hit the eyeball, I hide the entire layer. So how do I go back? I mean, how do I turn it off, or how do I make adjustments to the adjustment layer? Well, you can't. And that's really the beauty of using an adjustment layer. I'm going to go ahead and undo this now, and once again turn this on to show you that even though we have this adjustment on this particular image, we can always go back to it and change it. All I'm going to do now is double click on the icon, and the controls open up for me so I can continue to work with it. So I can adjust the saturation of that hue, the lightness, and once again I can just go ahead and collapse that. Now the adjustments will work on whatever is beneath the layer. So I'm going to bring snow back here and drag it underneath that adjustment, and notice how this saturation and hue affect this. It won't affect anything above it. So that's very important to keep that in mind. Anything that you don't want affected by the adjustment, leave above that layer. Once again, you can always turn it off, and you can always double click to change the parameters. One of the great things about these adjustment layers is that you can keep going. I can try something else. So I can go to curves, for example, and I can modify those as well. And I'll turn that off, and as you see, we have a curves adjustment on top of the hue saturation. And I can hide that one, or I can show this one, and I can experiment and try to find the image that I really want to have presented to my client or as my own finished illustration. So whenever you want to apply a non-destructive adjustment, click on this icon here, and likewise you can always use the new adjustments panel inside of Photoshop CS4.